thing from the training, but in 3D and absolutely unbelievable. This is incredible.
Kathy Moonjoy.
I definitely see all of the basin of Oriental, Copernicus, easily all in view. This is so awesome.
We look like we're smiling at you, like a little Cheshire cat.
Thank you guys.
I thought we just caught an ActiWatch sync. If I had my own, I'd sync it with you. Breaking news, at this time, you are go for all types of uses of the toilet.
And the crew rejoices. Thank you. Yeah, we caught a view of Earth in window 1, and now we're completely distracted for a little bit.
To me, is a great, example of why we go and do these missions. If you can't take love to the stars, then what are we doing? Like, why would we even go?
A number of years ago, we started this journey in our close-knit astronaut family, and we lost a loved one. And there's a feature in a really neat place on the moon, and it is on the near side, far side boundary. In fact, it's just on the near side of that boundary. And so at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol. And you spell that Carroll.
Integrity and Carroll Crater, loud and clear. Thank you.
This week, 4 human beings traveled further from Earth than any human ever has. And from that far away vantage point, something unexpected happened. They reminded us of who we humans really are. Creatures made for love. And they did this even as powers and principalities back here at home tried mightily to convince us otherwise. It was a week of fear of the violence of empire, and a week of what has now been coined Moonjoy. A week of collective grieving, and a week of collective effervescence. In other words, it was an Easter week. That peculiar experience of proclaiming Alleluia for all things made new amidst the reality of a still broken world. This morning, John's gospel takes us to the locked house the disciples are holed up in, experiencing their own very first Easter week. Terrified of the threat of violence from the powers and principalities of their day, acutely grief-stricken, and yet confronted face to face with Easter joy. When the risen Christ first visited the disciples, Thomas wasn't there. And he found he could not access anything other than grief, with only the hearsay of his friends to lean on. He demanded tangible evidence to even consider anything else. And so, Jesus shows up again and invites Thomas to put his finger in his side, to allow his senses to believe and to allow his body to feel Easter joy. That illogical, disjointed type of joy that somehow springs out of wounds, feels out of place in a Good Friday world. That joy that comes anyway. Thomas's story is so important because it acknowledges and honors the truth that any kind of joy can be hard and even impossible to access when the world is frightening and sad. That's normal. I suspect all of us will at some point, like Thomas, need our community, our fellow disciples, to hold the joy for us for a while. And sometimes we too will need some pretty tangible evidence of God's love and our true identity as creatures made for that love to move forward. And that tangible evidence will come. It will come in the form of colleagues supporting one another as their friend honors a loved one's memory. In the form of a photograph that captures every person and place any of us has ever known on one big, beautiful, shining ball, sinking behind the far side of a celestial body that has fascinated our kind since before language existed. In the form of a vulnerable God who knows our pain firsthand and invites us to be so close to him as to touch his wounds. In the form of a weekly gathering in this sweet, sacred space that allows all of our senses to experience the closeness of that same God, too. Easter joy is not a fix for all that is wrong. It doesn't ask us to pretend or sink our heads in the sand. Easter joy is remembering, if only for a moment, who we really are. We are not the systems of sin and oppression of this world. We are not violence and cruelty and hatred. We are not annihilation. We are not the cross. We are the object of the love on the cross. Made for love. Made to love each other. That is who we are. Artemis II astronaut Victor Glover said to the world from space, As we get close to the nearest point to the moon and the farthest point from Earth and continue to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos, I would like to remind you of one of the most important mysteries on Earth, and that is love. And to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon. Astronaut Christina Koch added, "We will explore. We will build ships. We will visit again. We will construct science outposts. We will drive rovers. We will do radio astronomy. We will found companies. We will bolster industry. We will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other. We are creatures who choose each other, bounded together by God's love on this little, gorgeous, unlikely God-made planet. When we start reaching for artificial humanity or for other planets to call home, when we start violently resisting the truth of our sacred interconnectedness, these are symptoms of a deep forgetting. Easter joy, moon joy, happens when we let ourselves remember the truth of who we are. Believe in that truth. Choose that truth. And on days when wars and rumors of wars surround us, when our neighbors are in danger, when we are in danger, we shouldn't feel shame if accessing that truth, that Easter joy, seems hard. On those days, we might take a page from Thomas, who in his grief and despair stayed right there with his community. Let his friends carry the joy for a bit. And when it was time, when the most powerful evidence showed up right in front of him, opened himself up to the wonder of the kind of joy that reminds us of who we are. We might also take a page from the crew of Artemis II, who had access to the news cycle back here on this fragile earth and chose to come home anyway. Because they and we are creatures made for love and for moon joy.